Be a part of the best pro wrestling podcast today by supporting the Going In Raw Patreon. You can enjoy access to the live taping of the show, exclusive merchandise, and patron-only episodes, and so much more. Support Going In Raw today. Click the link in the description. Hey friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
So with the WWE Draft having been announced as taking place on the first episode of Live SmackDown TV, we figured we'd take a look at the free agent landscape in pro wrestling and look at who should and shouldn't be coming back to the WWE.
Yeah, we have another video where we take a look at who we do want, but we also want to look at who we don't want to see back in the company, and we'll count them down now.
So here you go. Here's the 5 wrestlers who shouldn't come back to the WWE.
Should not.
Goldberg!
Goldberg!
So if you already saw the other video, you know that Goldberg is on our short list of wrestlers who should come back to the WWE. Then Larson, how can he be here as well?
Easy. There are just as many reasons why Goldberg
should
come back as there are reasons he should stay at home.
For one thing, he's old. He's pushing 50 and yeah, he looks great, but that's still really old.
Going along with that, being that old means he's probably limited in the ring, which means he's limited to the number of people who can have credible matches with him.
In our other video, we mentioned how cool it might be to see Goldberg stack up against Ryback. But then when you think about it, does anybody really want to see the botch fest that would probably ensue when Goldberg and Ryback get in the ring together?
Who else could he really match up with anyway? Triple H, maybe?
Yeah.
But then who? It doesn't make much sense to bring him back if he can't wrestle more than a small handful of guys.
So it probably shouldn't happen. But then it would be kind of cool for one brief moment once his music hits. And then once he inevitably kicks somebody in the head and ends another career, we'd all be regretting it.
Hey, Steve. Who's next?
Oh yeah, because of the Goldberg. MVP! I kind of feel like when MVP was hot, the rest of the roster was not. Weaker guys like him and a certain ring announcing wrestler later on in this list were all the WWE could scrape together in the late aughts, and there's not a lot of demand for him to come back.
That might seem harsh, but look at that time period. Guys like Jack Swagger could become world champion, guys like Chris Masters were on the roster, and then the Miz things started to happen.
I mean, the Miz came from those crappy MTV reality shows, for fuck's sake. And yeah, he's made a great career for himself, but if the Miz is the standout guy from a class of wrestlers, then you know it's probably not very good.
And what's with MVP's horrible ring attire?
Oh my god.
It's not flattering in the least.
It's a singlet with shorts and long sleeves, and then he's got like football tape on, and then like a chain. It's just, he's so confusing. He looks like a really bad creator wrestler. You know, some guys look like a really cool creator, like AJ Styles' current ring gear. He looks like a really cool creator wrestler. MVP looks like a bad version of that. Hardy Boys! Look, we love the Hardy Boys. We love them. Who doesn't? They stole almost every show they were on in the Attitude Era and took bumps that no sane person should ever consider.
Jeff Hardy was even one of the more interesting world champions in WWE, and we were both happy that the years he spent sacrificing his body were rewarded when he won the title.
Hell, we even love their weird Slammiversary contract signing video. It may be hilariously bad, but something tells me they knew that going into it and released it as kind of a half troll.
All that being said, for the sake of their own safety, we kind of think they'd be best off if they just stayed in TNA.
Here's the thing. Recently, Jeff Hardy gave an interview saying he'd love to top the Shane McMahon Hell in a Cell spot in the main event of a WrestleMania. I don't want to see a guy die in the ring, and I'm afraid that's what's going to happen if Jeff Hardy is given the license to do another big spot like that.
Yeah, he's like 40 years old, his body has taken an ungodly amount of abuse, and we just want him to be healthy.
We want Jeff Hardy to do what's best for Jeff Hardy. He's paid his dues, he's entertained us. He should just now enjoy his giant house in Florida or wherever it is in that silly contract video.
And if Jeff Hardy doesn't come over, that kind of keeps Matt Hardy out of the equation.
I'd actually pay to see Matt Hardy and his weird brother Nero get up in the WWE, but like in a comedy angle.
First of all, Jeff is brother Nero, Steve. Second, I thought that was a comedy angle.
Yeah, but it's like unintentional comedy, I think.
He should make himself Matt Hardy version 3.
Matt Hardy's like the Andy Kaufman of like wrestling nowadays. Like the current, like he's just trolling everybody.
Kind of, I think so.
I think. Maybe they think it's high drama. I don't know. Mr. Kennedy! The guy known as Mr. Anderson in TNA was in the WWE for an underwhelming 3 years, during which time he held the US title once for 1 month and won the Money in the Bank ladder match.
He then became the one guy to ever lose his contract in a match, thus not being able to cash in on anyone.
Mr. Kennedy seemed to be a case of the WWE seeing potential in a guy because he was decent on the mic and he looked decent, but then when he started injuring all their big stars by being a walking botch fest, they realized he wasn't ready for prime time and released him.
He's on record as saying he thought Triple H got in Vince's ear and said he was, quote, too funny to get a big push. That doesn't make any sense, because he wasn't really funny.
He wasn't funny.
All he did was be his own ring announcer, and even that was a tired shtick after seeing it a couple times.
Yeah, the worst was when he was supposed to be booked as Vince McMahon's long-lost son and part of the storyline, but then they nixed that and made it Hornswoggle instead.
In any event, he was one of the most forgettable upper mid-card guys of the aughts, and we're happy that he's having success on the independent circuit. Maybe you just keep doing that.
He got bumped by Hornswoggle. So, that's pretty bad. Yeah. Couldn't think of anybody else. It's not Mr. Kennedy. It's got to be Hornswoggle.
Hornswoggle ended up being the default for a lot of things.
He did, yeah. He was the
we need an anonymous Raw general manager. Let's make it Hornswoggle.
Hornswoggle.
Before we get to our number one pick, here are some honorable mentions for guys who should just not come back to WWE.
Stevie Richards! He's one of the instructors for DDP Yoga now and seems to be very happy doing what he's doing. We like people to be happy, so just stay doing what you're doing.
Brodus Clay. Remember how over he was?
Yeah.
With all the dancing and the tearaway pants?
Yeah.
No, he was awful. Yeah. The best thing to come for Brodus Clay was Naomi.
Very true. She's great.
She's great.
Yeah. Any of the Playboy Divas. Remember one of the prerequisites for being a WWE diva was seemingly that you had to do Playboy and show everybody your freaking bits? I know that wasn't the case with everyone, but the women's division in both NXT and WWE are doing great right now with tons of room for growth. There's really, really good wrestlers there. No need to mess with things when they're going good.
Yeah, don't take a step backwards.
Scott Steiner! Oh boy, Larson, where do we start with this one?
Scott Steiner's last few years in WCW could basically be described as maniac shoot machine because he would constantly come to the ring and just start ranting in the most vulgar way about anyone he had problems with, which seemed to be everyone on the roster.
Yeah, which made the last year or so of WCW's life watchable in a train wreck kind of way. Steiner would usually come out to the ring surrounded by a couple of low-rent paid escorts. He'd talk about having what was most certainly gross sex with them or other wrestlers' wives, and then he'd ramble on about how he's a real man.
You wanna know what it's like to be with the real man?
It was pretty hilarious, usually shocking, and whenever they filmed a backstage segment with Steiner, you could usually see the look of actual fear in the eyes of whomever was forced to interact with him or interview him.
And that's probably why his singles run in WWE didn't work. He was just too much of a loose cannon. I personally think he's one of those guys who thinks it's all real.
Yeah, they're always weird. Look, judging by this picture of restaurateur Scott Steiner and the rest of the NWO at his newly opened Shoney's in Ackworth, Georgia, he seems to have at least found some peace. Or at least enough to open and manage a Shoney's, which probably, hey, isn't that easy.
Which is awesome for Steiner, because peace isn't a word you usually associate with that guy. Even his workout tape looked like it was a result of Steiner getting into a fight with gym equipment.
Look, if you want some real entertainment, check out his backstage segments or ring announce work in TNA. It's obvious no one could control him, nobody tried, and he knew he had free reign to do whatever he wanted. By the way, whenever Kevin Nash was nearby on camera, no one seemed to be more amused by this than him. But we don't really need that in the WWE today.
No, can you imagine Steiner on an up, up, down, down video?
I would love to imagine that because it'd probably be hilarious, but I like Xavier Woods too much to ever want that to happen.
Steiner would be all, do you have any laser gun games?
What about Duck Cunt? I hope that dumb dog out there gets the duck for me because he's a fat bastard.
If I cover the duck in Twinkies, maybe he'll go get him then.
Could you imagine they brought him into NXT when Bullfit was around?
Oh, man.
Look at this fat bastard.
Oh, my gosh. See, that would have been a good angle.
I know. So there you go. There are the wrestlers we don't want back in the WWE. Let us know who we missed in the comments.
And be sure to check out our other video on the subject, the 5 wrestlers who should come back to WWE.
Yeah, and then, you know, the draft happens and we'll find out then.
Gotta be great if Scott Steiner came back. I mean, it would be awful, but it'd be funny.
Oh, it'd be so great.